Once again, my name is Jahan Chu, and I am the managing partner and co-founder of Kinetic, which is an institutional platform for crypto based in Hong Kong. Before I start, I just want to say a very, very warm thank you to Abi, the rest of the Nucleus Vision team, and the entire IBC team for putting on such an incredible and really momentous occasion. I think that history will show that this is really a milestone in India's development as a hub for blockchain, and especially for the state of Telangana. In addition, regarding Nucleus Vision, I'd like to say that we as Kinetic invested in Nucleus Vision, so obviously I'm very biased, but what's important about what they're doing is not so much that they achieved the growth of their platform, but how they did it. And as investors, it's always very important to us who people are, how they kind of achieved it. And the path that Abi and his team took, I think, was one of integrity and execution. And for that, we're quite happy as investors. But today, I want to start off really briefly just by understanding a little bit about you. So just by a show of hands, can you please show me how many of you hold cryptocurrency now? OK, so if I'm not mistaken, it's primarily the people that are visiting. OK, and on the other hand, how many of you are interested in the state of the environment, access to clean water and food, and generally the human condition? How many of you actually care about your fellow man and woman? Well, actually less than I thought. But be that as it may, I think that what I want to do today is not spend so much time on the business of blockchain, because I think that we're going to have a lot of speakers who are going to be talking about that. And I want to take it in a slightly different direction and talk about social impact and talk about what we as an industry, and especially those of you who are just starting off in the blockchain industry, can gain by thinking about social impact and sustainability as a driving force. As Shilpa said, I have a background in community. I started off in 2013 investing in Bitcoin, investing in Ethereum, and really trying to help develop the community. So I started the Ethereum community in Hong Kong, as well as one of the co-founders of the Bitcoin Association. And one of the things that really taught me over all of this time kind of being involved in the ecosystem is that we all started off in the 2012-13 time period wanting to go and change the world. And we were in such a rush to make an impact, to raise funds and gather resources and get everybody on our side to change the world, to build the technology to change the world, that I think we might have lost a little bit of sight of actually trying to change the world. And so just for today, I want to kind of turn the clock back a little bit and think about social impact. So just really briefly, my day job is as Kinetic. And Kinetic is basically, we are an institutional platform, so we invest in cryptocurrencies, we invest in in blockchain companies, especially early stage. We run community events. We also have an asset management arm. And we do all kind of things that you would expect a growing blockchain business to do. We have about 50 people, 55 people in Hong Kong and San Francisco and Singapore, and we're growing very rapidly. We have been fortunate to make great investments like Nucleus Vision. We've made over 100 investments. And what's interesting is about some of these investments, especially, and some of you in the audience who hold crypto know this, some of these investments turn out to be really incredibly high returns. We've had certain coins or certain investments that have done over 100 times returns, and that's almost unbelievable to the average, to the normal investor. But this is really the state of affairs. But when you kind of achieve these returns, you start to realize that it's not about the money at all. It's really about the impact. It's really about how you can really kind of make a change beyond the returns, the social returns, the human returns. And another thing that you learn when you're doing all this investing, with all this pattern recognition, is that one of the key areas in the success of our industry, the blockchain industry, is adoption. And this is really where the title of my talk comes from. It's about using social impact to achieve the adoption, which will lead to the success of the blockchain industry, and therefore, hopefully, the betterment of humanity. So, one of the things I really want you to take away from this brief talk is that don't only focus on the technology, focus on the reach, focus on the go-to-market and the actual adoption of the technologies that you're building. And if you do that through the lens of social impact and actually reaching the lives of the people that you're going after, then you have a path to success. So that's what we do at Kinetic. But I have to say that having been in the space for about 5 years now, one of the most gratifying kind of experiences that I've had is actually not as an investor, but growing my role really as someone who serves the community. And so my wife, Nydia Jong, and I have started a foundation called Social Alpha Foundation. And just like the name suggests, we are interested in the alpha, in the returns, the outsized returns of the social impact of blockchain, hence Social Alpha. Now, what is Social Alpha? Social Alpha is a not-for-profit grant-making foundation. What we do is we give out grants to projects that are using blockchain for social impact in the areas of education, public health, and the environment. And the reason why we started Social Alpha was twofold. One, we wanted to take a step to trying to expand the narrative of what the blockchain industry is. Right now, I think that blockchain and crypto industry is really dominated, perhaps unfairly so, by the notion that it's all about raising money, that it's all about ICOs, and to be fair, there is a lot of attention, there is a lot of capital that goes into it. But I think we fundamentally believe that there are additional stories, there are additional narratives in our industry which are beyond making money and beyond the commercialization of technology. And that narrative is one of giving and sustainability and philanthropy. And so we wanted to provide a platform where people who are interested in starting companies, people who are interested in entering the blockchain space, would have those initial steps of support to start companies which are not commercially oriented, which are really socially oriented. And so we give grants to those companies and give them some breathing room to start off and test their ideas. The second reason that we started Social Alpha was so that we could change the DNA, and this goes back to how we raise. Social Alpha as a foundation, we get all of our money from our friends and other generous individuals and companies in this space. So just like some of you, we were very fortunate to have benefited financially from the increase in crypto price over the past 5 years. We invested in Bitcoin, we invested in Ethereum, we invested in Icon, we invested in Nucleus Vision, and we're fortunate, we're lucky. But it's time to give back, and it's time for us, as an early generation of crypto holders, to take upon this responsibility and make ourselves accountable for the rest of society. So what we do is we raise money by taking donations from other projects who have raised their ICOs, from other projects who are funds and investors like us, and from many wealthy individuals, these whales in this space who have kind of really changed their own lives. They give us money in the form of crypto. We then take those funds. We have a vetting committee made up of really intelligent and insightful experts in our space, including Loi Liu, who is the founder of Kyber, including Matt and Brian from Smith & Crown, one of the world's leading ICO platform research companies, as well as people like Matthew Green, who is a professor, a doctor at Johns Hopkins, who's focused on crypto and blockchain. We vet all the applications. People can make applications for grants, and we give out the money. And we try to support projects that are using blockchain technology for social impact. And that's basically what we do. We find that this is a way of creating a sustainable flow. Whereas on the Kinetic side, I personally am commercializing the space. On the Social Alpha side, what we're trying to do is circulate the value and send it back out to the community and really support. And we hope that by doing this, by getting generous individuals to donate in the early days, what we're really doing is changing the DNA of this generation's value creators. Imagine if in the early or the mid-90s, if all of the kind of initial founders of the internet generation already started to give back, and they already had in their habit, in their practice, this idea of giving back to society. All of the value that they created over time, just one fraction of that could be going back, and it would create outsized returns. That is the opportunity that we all have now as early entrants and as early industrialists in our blockchain industry. And that's really what we're trying to do with Social Alpha. So far, we've been fortunate to fund projects like Ampli. Ampli is a self-sovereign student ID which basically helps children, undocumented children in South Africa, get their first identification, digital identification, and starts to help them be recognized as humans in our society. We've also funded Aparna Krishnan, who is an incredibly talented and incredibly smart student at Berkeley. I think she just graduated, and she's the co-head of education at Blockchain at Berkeley, which is one of the really the foremost student-run university club for blockchain. So for all of those students out there, if you're wondering how can we get involved, how can we as a student have an impact on the world, go to Blockchain at Berkeley and find out what they're doing to make a difference. She's been recently recognized as a Peter Thiel Fellow, which means basically she was given $100,000 to drop out of school and pursue her blockchain career. This is our education grantee where we brought her to Hong Kong to teach other university students about blockchain research through the lens of social impact. We were also fortunate to fund something called the Impact Summit, which was a student hackathon devoted to social impact. 400 computer science majors from up and down the East Coast of the United States, from institutions like MIT and Princeton, trying to look at how they could use their computer science skills in the areas of social impact. And once again, we are very fortunate to be supported by many different projects. And really, again, what we're trying to do here is not raise the most money. What we're really trying to do is impact the most influencers. And this generation of influencers are the people who are on this screen, as well as out there. But I think it's also important to realize that many of you in the audience, and especially in the early days of India's development in blockchain, many of the major kind of blockchain founders and blockchain companies, billion-dollar unicorns to come, are in this room. You just don't know it yet. You're early enough in this space that if you start with this mindset of philanthropy and sustainability and circulating value, you can actually make an incredible difference. I think I've gone back a little bit. If you have questions about Social Alpha, please let me know. Now, one last thing that I want to talk about before I turn it over is this idea that I've been playing around with, and it's really an early idea. It's called selfish sustainability. And selfish sustainability is this concept that I think is unique to the blockchain world, where we are able to create ecosystems through crypto economics, where every participant in the system, acting in their own selfish interest, is able to provide a sustainable type of environment. And we see this model in the blockchain world through Bitcoin mining, for example. Bitcoin miners are actually providing a service to maintain the network, but they're not doing it because they have a particular mission. They're doing it because they're economically incentivized. And the lesson that I think that we can all take away, especially, again, as early developers and early kind of founders of this space, is that through crypto economics, you really have some really interesting types of levers to play with, where you can use crypto economics and create incentivizations for your actors, your participants, to provide value and be incentivized by providing value. I had a really brief conversation with a woman named Lakshmi from Iqtisad, who we were very lucky to have host us, and they were talking about using blockchain to track supply chain and track their seeds. And what I said to her was, maybe you can think about not only the impact of blockchain technology in terms of supply chain, but think about the concepts of blockchain, how they can accelerate. How can you motivate and incentivize the different actors, the consumers, the growers, the producers, through token economics, through crypto economics, rewards, bounties, to create incentivizations where everybody is doing what they want to do and at the same time creating a flow of value. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for all of us. And especially I want to say that the opportunity for India is quite great. You are perhaps seen as slightly behind some other countries in terms of the blockchain curve, but I think that's actually a benefit for you. You have the opportunity to reset exactly your expectations and your society's expectations for what can be done and beyond the commercial as participants in this ecosystem, and I think that's an incredible opportunity for you. And one last thought that I'll leave you with is, this idea that, I don't know if you've all seen the kind of Facebook movie, The Social Network, where Sean Parker, who was the founder of Napster and one of the kind of early investors in Facebook, he had this quote which I thought really stuck out. He said, $1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool? $1 billion. But I think we're a different generation. We have a different mission. And I think for all of us, and especially those of you in India, where you have the greatest opportunity to impact those around you, what's really, really cool is 1 billion lives. Thank you very much.